Jealousy to me feels more like a scarcity mindset. There's no hierarchy to suffering, and I think that there's no right way to heal.
Hey everybody, Paul Tully here with the FY Podcast. Another episode, another great guest. Today I'm sitting here with Chelsea Smith. Chelsea is an actress, a producer, writer?
Yeah.
Writer, she wears all hats. She gets it done. We're going to talk a little bit about her journey. And she's done everything from producing plays in New York to acting in TV and films. But we're going to get to know Chelsea, not just her accolades, but her. Chelsea.
Yes. Hey, buddy.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited. You know why I'm really excited to have you on?
Tell me.
Because I know how nervous you are.
I am. I'm so nervous.
You got butterflies?
In like an excited way. I don't know. When you come on and you're talking about yourself, I'm like, hopefully something lands, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Yeah. We start overthinking it. I know exactly how you feel. I've never hosted podcasts.
Yeah.
I've never been a podcaster. When this opportunity came about, I was like,
just
what?
The most naturally charming person. So I feel like it's a perfect fit.
She's
and
definitely the best guest so far. Just kidding. Everybody's great. I know what you mean. I'm always like, how am I going to say something prolific?
Right.
What it's going to like impact the world.
Sure,
and then I'm like, dude, just talk.
Or we could just have a conversation.
Just have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Because
great.
guess what? We're probably not going to impact the world.
That's right.
But maybe they'll get a little jet.
Yeah.
Never know. Let's talk, man. Where are you from? You're from California?
I am from California.
Right.
Tried and true Californian. So born in Glendale. All of my family, mom, Studio City, dad is Reseda. And then we moved down to Orange County, just south of Long Beach. And I went to school at Chapman, Chapman University.
Of course.
Down in Orange.
Great school.
Yeah, really good school.
Great film program.
Great film program. However, I was a dancer then. Good dance program as well.
Okay.
So then got my degree from Chapman, was a dancer, moved to New York, danced when I first got there. And that's where I fell into acting and producing and all of that. So I was in New York for 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. 10 years. Oh, so you were basically a New Yorker at that point.
So I feel like at 10, you earn your street cred.
Yeah, for sure.
You're a New Yorker.
For sure. Well, I'm similar to you. My father's a New Yorker. I mean,
true New Yorker.
We're like 5 generations.
Yeah, cool.
New York City. But I actually also was born in California. My mother's from California.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So my father met my mother. He had hitchhiked to California when he was 13. Him
From New York.
From New York. Him and his buddy Bobby. They hitched. Yeah, they grew up over there in the Chelsea area. This is, in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
The projects over there, Fulton.
Yeah.
My dad was from down the street. They decided it was a different generation, let's say that.
Absolutely.
My dad grew up, he had a pretty tough upbringing. But he left at 13, hitchhiked out here. Met my mom.
Life.
Yeah. Well, kind of like once they had me, we moved back to New York. So I moved to New York when I was a baby.
Okay.
And so yeah, anyways, I was
so we're both California.
I'm a Californian.
That's right. That's the best.
People think I'm always like New York.
Love that, like,
yeah,
New
well,
York,
I grew up over there, but
that hustle.
Yeah. So I want to talk about you get to New York. What part of the city? Where'd you move
Where
to?
was I in New York? Washington Heights.
Oh, uptown.
Up on the west side.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 92nd and 2nd the first year I moved there. And then 9 years.
Nice.
The weekend I moved, it was Halloween weekend. And there was a freak snowstorm. So it snowed in October. And it was the worst moving day. And I put down my bags and I said, I am not moving until I move back to California. And here I am.
And you eventually made it back.
That's exactly right.
So let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to kind of jump to, I know that when you were 19.
Yes. There's never an easy way to bring up cancer.
To transition to cancer.
Yeah, that's a hard transition.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Let's jump right into it. So you got diagnosed with
thyroid cancer.
Thyroid cancer.
Yeah. So it was when I was at Chapman. I had noticed I had a swollen lymph node, and you could visibly see it. And went to the doctors, saw an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and it was still still very early. So even in my blood work, nothing was really indicating that yet. But I believe that when there's something off in your body and you're listening, and my body was just telling me something is not right. And so I kept questioning it. So what I did, ultrasound, CAT scan, MRI, the whole thing. And it just kept being like, well, there's a lump there. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Like,
that's why
I don't want it.
I can see it.
Right.
Yeah. And then they finally did a biopsy on it and found thyroid papillary cells there, which can really only be indicative of thyroid cancer. So then it was months of it's nothing to Friday, the lymph node was out. Monday, diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Tuesday, went to see the surgeon, and I had my thyroid out that Friday.
Wow.
Yes.
They moved.
Real whirlwind. Well,
it took forever to get to it, but what I'm saying is once it was like...
Which exactly right. So then in terms of processing it, when it's, you're fine, it's nothing. Yeah. Plus again, I'm 19, and at this point I'm 20. I'm dancing 4 to 6 hours a day, taking good care of myself. I was having fun, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
So when I saw the surgeon, I remember him saying, it's slow growing, we could wait, but I just thought, I don't know, let's just get this out.
Let's get it out, yeah.
So then I'm just going to kind of go through the physical aspect.
Sure.
So then had the surgery. And then with thyroid cancer is called the good cancer because it has a very specific treatment. So thyroid cells absorb iodine. So they give you radioactive iodine in a pill form. So then if there's any cells left, then the radiation should then destroy it. But again, that was a whole journey, which we'll get into with it being called the good cancer because you're diagnosed with cancer. And then you're so lucky.
Right.
You're so lucky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you get cancer, get out of here.
Yeah.
With that luck.
I don't feel lucky.
That's exactly right. But at the same time, I am grateful because we found it early.
Yeah.
I had the radiation. I had 1 round of radiation. And then, so now I have no thyroid. I take Synthroid, which actually a lot of people have to take because thyroid problems in terms of being hypo or hyper, you don't really know what the thyroid does until you don't have one or until it is not functioning properly. It's really like your engine and your energy levels and everything. So that was, go ahead. Sorry.
No, my only experience with thyroid, I tried recently because I'm like obese. So I tried to go to my doctor and I tried to blame everything. Yeah. So maybe it's my thyroid.
Blame your thyroid.
Because I knew nothing about that. The doctors were like, there's nothing wrong with you. Yeah. You eat too much, and I was like, and I was trying to find any excuse, to blame my eating. But anyways, that's where I got ADD, I think. I just did a podcast about mental health, and now I think I have everything.
Yeah, it's just self-diagnosed.
Everything's wrong with me. Okay, continue.
Everything's wrong with all of us. It's okay, you're in good company.
So, all right, so
most people when they think of thyroid, they think of weight issues.
Right.
Because if your metabolism, if everything isn't running properly, that can happen from hypothyroidism. So that is possible, definitely. But so that was the kind of like physical aspect of it.
Is it painful? The surgery,
Yeah, it was, especially because I had, 2 in a week where I actually got really sick after, because then I was taking painkillers and then morphine from the second surgeon. A lot. It was really a lot. And I struggled after the radiation too. I lost a ton of weight. And so much of that journey, again, like I said, I was a dancer and so very in touch with my body.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden there's something going on in my body that I have absolutely no control over. And that took a long time to work through and sort through. And I'm sure we'll get to that in this conversation too. And also, 1920,
I was just going to say, emotionally, what was that like at such a young age?
I knew nothing. I was just, and now I really have, because I've gone to therapy and worked through and done all kinds of work on it, I have a lot of empathy and grace for my young self because I think I handled it to the best of my ability that I could with the life skills I had at that time. I don't think there's ever a good age to face your mortality. I can only kind of speak to my experience, but facing it, I mean, that's the first thing I said. We were waiting for a call from the doctor. I was at my parents' house. I was taking a nap and the phone rang and I heard my mom answer the phone and it was my uncle. And I hear her talking and then I could hear her say, "Oh, hang on a second." The other line, it could be the doctor. And then I couldn't hear her voice. And I just thought, I have cancer. I just knew. And she walked by my room and I said, "Mom, come in here. Who is on the phone?" She said, "Your uncle." I said, "Who was on the phone after that?" And I said, "Was it the doctor?" And she was quiet. I said, "I have cancer, don't I?" And she was quiet. And the first thing I said, I remember so vividly, I said, "I could die. Did you know that?" Like as though she might not, like, and it's just so primal.
Yeah.
It's so primal. And so really the biggest journey at that time was my friends were young. They didn't know. No one knew. And I didn't know. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know how to ask for the kind of support that I needed. I didn't know how to just be like, "I'm really up and down right now and I'm kind of angry and I'm sorry if I take it out on you." It has nothing to, like, I couldn't verbalize that because I didn't know that's what I was thinking or feeling.
Wow. Now, was there a pivotal point at coming this close to, death or illness, terminal illness? Where could this go? Because that has to be incredibly scary. Yeah. Was there a moment that something flipped a switch and it was like, "I'm not going to waste another day" type of thing?
That's a really great question. I wish my answer was yes, and that I wish I could just say, "Yes, I faced this thing and now I'm living my life to the fullest." And truthfully, I believe I am, but there's still, I don't know, I should probably give myself more credit than I do, but that's another thing. Yes. I think really what the flip was for me, so this was second semester of my sophomore year of college, and I had falling outs with a lot of my friends, and one friend in particular came to me. Her name's Cassie. I'll give her a shout out. She's one of my best friends. Cassie. And she came to my dorm room, knocked on my door, and we hadn't spoken in a little while. And she comes in, she goes, "I need to borrow computer paper." I'm like, "You need to borrow? Okay, come in." She said, "So I was complaining about you to my mom." I said, "Okay." She goes, "So I'm complaining about you." And my mom goes, "You mean your friend Chelsea?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Your friend Chelsea with cancer?" Cassie says, "Yes." And her mom just goes off on her, right? "You have no idea what that poor girl is going through. Have you even asked her?" All of this. And so Cassie said, "I don't know what you're going through, and I'm really sorry, and I'll be here for you the best that I can be. So just let me know whether you want me to come over." She brought Snickers ice cream bars, as you should with all good apologies.
Makes everything
That's exactly
better.
Right. Makes everything better. And if we want to just sit here and eat Snickers bars, or if you want to talk about this, let's do it. So that was an interesting shift in terms of showing up for people.
Yeah.
And then I think my second real shift was it was my next year in school. And I wasn't ready to go to therapy. I think I just wasn't ready to talk about it. But I took Eastern concepts of health and healing and a world religions class. And I befriended my Buddhism professor. And we started having all these conversations. And it really hit me about forgiveness and grace. And so forgiving my body for doing that to me, forgiving myself for not knowing how to handle it, forgiving my family and friends for not knowing how to handle it. So in terms of it doesn't entirely answer your question, but in terms of key moments in that journey, that was a real flip in mindset that hopefully when I'm my best self, I carry that with me, certainly not always. But those were things that really shifted my worldview, that I would say more so. Yes, certainly. I mean, who knows? Would I have moved to New York? When I moved to New York, I was 23. I knew 2 people, right? And then built a whole life for myself, switched career paths, right? Went from dancing to acting and then into producing. Who's to say if I would have done that had I not had that experience? I couldn't say. So I think there is a part of me that has that. But I really think my larger lesson from it in terms of outlook and how hopefully I am living my life is grace.
I like that. So would it be fair to say that it wasn't a pivotal moment, but there was a moment that led you to seek out, like you said, the spiritual side,
Yes.
Buddhism.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess the pivotal moment was going to seek, not so much I'm living my life today, but seek why am I feeling this way and how do I forgive?
Yes, almost humbling yourself to that, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is making me think of, I think it was just yesterday, I was on a TikTok.
Great.
And Bill Murray, there was an interview with Bill Murray. Yeah, yeah, the great Bill Murray. Yes. But he had a moment, they actually asked a very similar question of like, when did you know you were going to be an actor?
Yeah.
And he said, I actually was, the first time I acted, I was terrible. He said he was in Chicago, he did a play or a scene in a class. I think it was a scene study, and he bombed. And he walked off the stage, walked right out of the theater, and I just started heading 10 minutes in the wrong direction. And he said it wasn't in the wrong direction of where I live. I mean the wrong direction, meaning he ended up in a neighborhood he shouldn't have been in, and emotionally the wrong direction. He literally was like, I'm just going to jump in the river. Or, and he goes, he even said, and I'm adding a little sauce to this. It's been a long time, but he goes, I just thought like, what? I want to die right now. I suck. I bombed. And he goes, somehow I made it to I think it was Lake Michigan.
Okay.
Right? And then he goes, well, just walk up that way. So I walked 10 minutes up that way. And then I ended up in front of a museum. So I walked in, and I had no reason to be, I don't know why I walked in. But then I seen this picture, and forgive me, I don't remember the name of the picture. Neither did he, but the podcast posted it up.
Okay.
But he didn't. He goes, but it was a picture of this woman with she chops corn, like a corn chopper.
Yeah.
Husk.
That's the official name.
She just looks miserable in this field. And in the background, the sun was rising. And he said, at that moment, I looked at that picture, and this woman clearly was having the kind of day I'm having. She's out in this field, probably had no ambitions to what my life could be, no ambitions of being, I'm just in this cornfield.
Right.
But the sun was rising. And he said, at that moment, I realized, I guess the sun will continue to go up whether I'm here or dead.
Yes.
I might as well be here.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. And I thought that was
TikTok, but when I hear stories like that, I feel like I should be.
Yeah, there's some things about social media are good or TikToks, but then there's a lot of bad. But so hearing your story, I guess what I'm trying to say is he also answered the same way. Like, I don't know if there was a pivotal moment, but he goes, I guess if there was, it was that. But it wasn't, he didn't like at that moment go, I'm going to be one of the best comedians of all time. It was just like, well, I guess I might as well give it another day, and kind of with yours, I just felt a relation of like, wasn't like, but it was like, this will lead me, maybe I'll go do this.
Go in that direction.
I think that's how most of us have it, right?
And I think that like, then those experiences lead and then build to the next experience, right? And so for me, certainly in terms of just kind of staying on my journey with cancer, then it was in New York. And like I said, I started acting. And when I ended up going to therapy, it's because you know how acting school is, and you're digging up all your emotions, finding all this stuff in there. And then I was just that girl in class who cried all the time. Right. You know what that girl is.
Every monologue you did.
Brothers. So my whole life, it was just like, don't cry, walk it off. Now that's a specific thing. I tell my dad it's okay to cry now. But I wasn't. So then I thought, there's some stuff here going on. Oh, maybe that thing that happened was a big deal and I should work through that. And so that's when I started going to therapy. And then with acting, I started with my friend. I will give her a shout out too, Randa Karen Bellis. So I started production company with. And it's called Little Spoon, Big Spoon Productions.
Little Spoon, Big Spoon Productions.
And every project we produce, we partner with a related nonprofit.
Okay.
So we did a play where the subject matter revolved around cancer. And my character was like this holistic healer. It's a great play. It's called Ghost Story. And we partnered with this nonprofit, Cancer Hope Network, and I volunteer for them. And this was the first time I had worked on cancer in an artistic form. And in terms of whether it's spirituality or the subconscious or God or universe, whatever word you want to put to it, I also think there's a certain amount of healing that can then really only be done on whatever plane that is, whatever you tap into with acting or creativity or imagination. So that was another very pivotal kind of aha moment for me, that working on it through the acting and the way where I was resistant was where the character's story really matched mine, because the character was also a cancer survivor. So when those really aligned, that's where I had trouble going there. To just like sit and say the words was nearly impossible. So then that was another shift or kind of pivotal moment, or what we're talking about is like, well, you're here and I'm doing it and I'm producing the play.
Right.
Obviously, I wanted to work through it. That was a very clear,
deep subconscious.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I thought, obviously, this is a point. This is what I need to be working on now to work through this next, I don't know, stage of healing or whatever that was.
Yeah.
That was very, very pivotal.
And it's like that's like ground zero of the actor, right? Every actor out there is really just like connecting and dealing with this deep stuff. And it's like, it's almost like,
it's so bizarre.
You want to go to acting school? Make sure you get a therapist as well.
Yes.
It's like, right? I mean,
your stuff's going to be kicked up. Absolutely.
Especially when you get into the serious trainings and the Meisner techniques. I've seen people that I started with that, I mean, they threw in the towel long time ago. Like after conservatories, they were done. It was because you're bringing up all that stuff.
Yeah. And that too, since we partnered with that nonprofit, and then it was the first time we hosted talkbacks after, and it was the first time I had spoken about my journey publicly. That's the word, publicly. And that
diction
thank you, publicly. And that was another learning curve too, because I think that suffering is relative, right? We all have our own form of cancer, whatever that is.
Right.
For me, in being stage 1 and finding it early, and thyroid cancer being the good cancer.
The good,
it's great. It took me a long time to own my story and to talk about my story and to share it. Now it's something, I mean, when you and I were chatting.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
And it's something that is a part of my story, so I think someone will know.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I asked, because usually I just like, well, it's like when I had cancer and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I was like, you had cancer?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And it took me then through either the Cancer Hope Network or meeting other people who had it, whatever form of cancer, worse than I did, and then see me and see my story and almost be like, hold that space for me to share my story. And I thought, what did I need to be validated or something? Like someone who had it worse told me. And then you just realize there's no actual hierarchy of suffering, that suffering is suffering, right?
For sure. I think I had a guest on once who like had been through like the most incredible combat mission. Like, he's a veteran. And Dakota Meyer, he was on one of our episodes, and I mean, he's a Marine, a Medal of Honor recipient, and we were on the podcast, and he had this like really, really amazing, heroic story, and I was in the military, I was in the Navy, and I'm sitting there feeling like, like,
what am I gonna offer?
Yeah. And I remember I told him, I said, man, like, sitting here, veteran, but like, you're a different type of veteran. But he, what he said, which very rarely, he said, bro, nobody's experience is more validated than someone else. You're just as much a veteran. So it's very similar.
It's so bizarre, right? That you're like, unless I suffered to like this extreme or
dragged out
metal, whatever.
Right. I'm not really, and staying with you, right? Because my mother passed away from lung cancer, and So I understand. I mean, she had it, the 5-year battle, the brutality. I mean, I was there for the last moments, but picking her up and rough. But your experience, whether it's stage 1 or I think my mother would tell you, honey,
yes,
I understand, like the fear, the going to the doctor and they say you have the C word is like, so I think my mom would sit here and tell you your story is just as valid. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's degrees to everything, but your story is as valid as anybody's. And I'm so grateful that you shared it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's powerful. I wanna kind of segue though.
Yeah, let's do it.
Into some of the
cancer.
brighter
Yeah,
you know, cancer's part of the journey, but you know, into your acting and producing.
Well, here's what I'll say to that too, which I think we could segue, because as you were saying that, right, of like, well, if I haven't experienced this on whatever level that is, it's not worthy or doesn't count or isn't valid. And that's something particularly with acting, writing and producing.
Right.
But I am feeling now, which is, I know when we first talked about me coming on here, I thought I'm actually excited to have this conversation now. It'll be good for me because I've been so I don't know, like in my own story of whatever I'm telling myself of where I
being a failure
or want to be or deserve to be and whatever, and it's all made up and it's all in my head. No one else is telling me this story. It's all my own self narrative and just whatever. Just I've been whatever.
No.
My own story
in your own in the mud of listen, especially
it's this good.
Well, you know, Chelsea, this business acting is the most. I was listening to a friend's podcast. She was on this podcast, cool. Jana Lee Ortiz. She also has a podcast.
Okay,
and she had an actor on. I don't know his name. I'm sorry, but I did watch a little bit of the episode. He's an actor.
Okay,
assuming he's very successful. Sure. I don't know because he's on her podcast, but. Basically what he was saying is we're in a town full of narcissistic actors who are competing by being like, I'm better than you because I'm on this show and I produced this show and my movie's done this, all to make ourselves feel validated that we're better than you.
Yes.
Meanwhile, he said, which was great.
Yeah.
We have no control. There is no actor that controls their narrative.
Right.
It's a bunch of producers and casting directors. You walked in a room, just like in front of us, we have a whole team of people behind these cameras right here that decide if you are the right face for this show, and it has nothing to do with us at all, aside from we prepare, we craft. But really, in reality, I've watched thousands of auditions and they're all great.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, that person's great. They're great. There's so many reasons to why I've cast people in my project I mean, some aren't good, but the majority are great. Yes. And I'm like, they're great. She's great. She's great. Okay. But I was looking for this body type,
what's the most right for that specific role that has
how many followers maybe they have now. You go, well, this role isn't that huge, but she has 500,000. Cool, that'll get it. There's so many reasons nowadays. Well, always in Hollywood to casting. So I guess I went on that rant because when he said that, and they all started clapping on the podcast because they're all actors. It's acting. Yeah. And I was like, dude, it's so true. Like, we're all like driving ourselves crazy for something we can't even control.
Right.
So going back to when you feel like, but when, going back to when we feel though like failures, I always remember, Paul, why are you doing it?
Yes.
I do it because I enjoy to create. The thing is, like, I could look at that movie and go, I didn't get like the 10,000 screens release across the country with the huge giant studio distributor, and you beat yourself up. You go, I put in so much time, but then I realized, bro, it was just about creating it.
Yes.
And whether I'm doing a play, whether I'm on a show, you know, it's my journey.
That's right. It's the process, right? Yes. And we're so result oriented, right? And I think it's true in any industry, and in our industry too. It's like you have this, there are the rooms, right? And you're like, well, I'm in this room and I really want to, but it's happening in that room. I really want to get up to that room. And then what happens, and I'm sure you've experienced this, any person I've been with that's at what I view as a successful career, they're trying to get into the next room too.
For sure.
You know, they're not satisfied either. And so I'm really currently, like today, right now, working on feeling proud of what I have done and proud of where I am and proud of what I am building. And to your point of things being out of your control, there's also just so much you don't know. I mean, you and I met at a birthday party, and I thought you were great, and we stayed in touch, and I wanted to, I helped out on your set, and then you do theater, come do this reading. And then that's any of the, like projects I've done or things, whether it's TV or movies or whatever that I've done have come through through relationships, through meeting people, and you hit it off with someone, and then that turns into this project or that project. That's how it happens too. So then you go, well, that wasn't totally in my control, but at the same time, I did make an effort to stay in touch with that person. And at the end of the day, you want to work and create with people that you like and want to be around, right?
Yeah. Well, someone told me too a long time ago when I first started getting into the theater, because that's our background. I love the theater. They said the reason we call them plays are because we're playing.
Yes. Actors were called players, like in Shakespeare.
That's right.
Players, yeah.
Right. The whole stage, right? The whole world's a stage.
Yes.
We're all just players. And that's what's great about kids. When they say kid actors, when they start learning, they're playing, they're having a good time.
Yep.
So there's a big difference of us as artists creating or the business.
Correct.
Once the first monetization came off art, it was the downfall and the disaster of the artist. Once you decide to monetize a creation, like whether it's a song, whether it's a play, a film, a painting, it dilutes it. It poisons the creator.
Yeah.
So obviously we want to monetize and we want to be on a big show, and I want to, make movies on a grand level.
Sure.
But the reality is, why did we start? I know for me personally, I got out of the military, took my first acting class, and something happened. It's not in the first class, but something happened in that first couple months of doing black box theater. I remember it was it was summertime in California. I was taking a community college theater class.
Okay.
I just went to get my GI Bill to get some money. I was like, oh, they pay me to go to school. And I didn't know I wanted to be an actor. And that thing happened there. And it was cool in the room, and we were doing a warm up, and the air conditioning was like blowing, and I had just got out of the military, and before the military, I lived a street life. 4 years. 4 years. And before that, I lived this street life. I got sober before going in the military. I had never been around safe people, meaning not the sound, but the kids in the class were kind of the outcast, nerdy types.
Oh, yeah. Theater kids? Yeah, theater kids.
And I remember thinking I could let my guard down. I didn't have to be a tough guy.
Yeah, you could be vulnerable.
I could be vulnerable. I didn't have to have to watch my back. I didn't have to be hard in the military because I'm no punk and we're going to war and let's go get these. It was like, that's what happened for me more than the art. But the artist was in me.
Yes.
I didn't know I had a voice.
And you let down all those walls, and then
my friends, if I said I was going to be an actor when I was growing up, come on, man. They would have beat me up, threw me out the window. I was hanging out with, a different crowd.
Sure.
So that's when it happened for me. And I think from then on, it was fun. I started a theater company. I started meeting actors that I had seen in movies, and I got to meet them. And I started my own company. It's always been an independent. Everything I've done in acting, I've had to go
generate.
Right. Produce a play.
Yep.
Right. Like I'm doing your cast play where we got to produce. I would raise the money. Nothing. I've never really just went in a room and booked a job. Couple times, couple TV things I booked. majority of everything I've done is because somebody I met, and that's how it works.
Yes.
And I said, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the business.
Yeah.
So anyways, long story short, it's like I went on that rant, but
No, not a rant. Let me ask you something to that. To that end, and I don't know if you have this, and this is, like I said, another thing I'm working through is in terms of feeling proud, like that's incredible, right? That's truly, truly incredible. And sometimes I feel like, again, when feeling like something counts is almost that you want that, someone to like anoint you and say, yes, you are actor. You are.
Yeah, you're great.
That's right. You're great. You're this. And
you're one of us.
You book that job and you're like, yes, I'm in. I'm invited to the party.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas actually you're like, we're also creating our own party here.
We are the party.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We are the artist.
You're
the artist.
Have you always had that mentality? Is that something you found? Yeah. Okay.
No, I felt no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think my journey, and you might relate. One thing that's a little different is I came in at 30.
Yeah.
From a guy from the streets to the military to theater.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't like I went to Juilliard.
Right.
And I had dreams at 18. I'm going to be on that Broadway stage. So I understand someone like that might beat themselves up. For me, it's all been good. Hey, if I do a play for 50 people, big deal. Because I'm not meant to do this.
I'm not too dissimilar from that because, like I said, I was a dancer. And then so I didn't start acting. I was probably 25, 26. I think I was 26 when I went to the William Esper Studio in New York when I really went to get training.
Great school.
It is. Thank you.
Great school.
Thank you. And so I relate to that. And I think there's something interesting about finding it when you're more of your adult self too. And so, I relate to that because I found it later as well. Yeah.
So
acting specifically.
Yeah. One thing I try not to do, and I'm going to tell you just this morning, I woke up and looked at Instagram and somebody had posted something about a project they're doing in this like jealousy. For a second.
Yeah.
I used to would drive and I went like this. Good for them. That's great. God bless them.
You got there quick?
Well, no, this is after years. I'm saying it used to be.
Yeah.
And that was okay because the jealousy used to drive me to do better than my peers.
Okay.
Which I don't know. Because look what I was able to accomplish for nobody. I've directed Mickey Rourke. Say
that one more time.
I'm going to brag. I directed Mickey Rourke. You know what I mean? But like, my point is not that that's a big deal, but that's a big deal.
No, that's a huge deal.
It's a big deal for a guy that went to community college and started acting at 30, right? It's like
certainly is. And I even think it's a big deal that you were able to then flip that switch. And I think too, jealousy, I think we can confuse jealousy and envy and what that means. And I try to be mindful of that too. Jealousy to me feels more like a scarcity mindset or like they have that.
Yeah, there's not enough.
So I'm not going to get it. And there's not enough.
Right, there's not enough for the pie.
Game, yes.
Right.
Envy too, I kind of try to reframe of like, oh, they have that thing and that's something that I want. So to your point being like, good for them, maybe that's even showing me or opening my mindset to the fact that that's possible. Yes.
It's possible.
Yes.
Well, but going back to the artist thing, what I've done lately though in my life is, again, take out the money and the studio jobs.
Yes.
And I go, wait a minute, keep remembering, and I'm going to say this to the camera, it's all about the work. And I learned that from some real hardcore theater people in New York. I want to, I'm not even getting the names, but great, writers and actors that have done theater to the full level. And they always say, Paul, it's about the work. Once you get sidetracked into, I have met series regulars on shows that can't act their way out of a box. I have met people that have booked hundreds of jobs. I've directed people in projects that I'm like, you look at their resume and they're like, dang, this person. And when you get them in the room, I've worked with actors in scene studies that will act circles around these people. And you go, wow, this person's not really an actor. This person has a look, is in the scene. You know how once you've booked enough, it's very easy just to cast a type And then I remember, Paul, just focus on the work. So that's how I navigate through life now. If I want to produce a play, I'm going to produce it with the actors that I think are the real deal. If I'm going to make a movie, I'm going to make the movie with people that I think are great and want to, because there's a commercial element to the business. And that, I think what I'm trying to get at quickly is saying, if we just focus on our work, work, and why we're doing this, again, if you're doing it to be famous and to be rich.
That's actually why I'm doing it.
Yeah. Like
it's working out really well.
Yeah. I was just gonna, if people are doing it for that, pick another career. Go get like, there's so many other ways to get rich.
Yeah, go to Wall Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in New York. Those finance guys are doing just fine.
Yeah.
But Carol Burnett was in an interview and she said, people focus on show business and forget that it's show business, right? And so that's exactly what you're saying, the art versus the business out there. I think there is a world in which they can be combined, but if you get caught up in that side of it, which is easy to do, especially in Los Angeles, and it's a company town, and so many people are here and trying to do it. And to your point, remember the love of it. And for me, for dancing, I just loved performing and embodying. I mean, my favorite role I did, I was like 8 years old. Have you seen The Nutcracker?
Of course.
Okay, so the bratty brother, Fritz, who steals the Nutcracker.
That's your first role?
Dream role. Crushed it.
No.
Crushed it. Yeah, because he had an intention. He wanted the Nutcracker. He deserved it. And that's also all my youngest sibling. Like I said, I have two older brothers. So that aspect, and with theater too, you can connect with the audience.
Of course.
And every night is a different experience, and everyone's going to experience the play differently. And
only the people there share the moment with you. It's very intimate.
It is very intimate.
With theater, that's what I do love about it. It's like if there's 100 people in the audience, only those 100 get to see what happened that night between us. Yes. It's a very communal, interesting thing. Yeah, I think for anyone listening, no matter whether you're an actor or not, I think the most important thing that we could do is not keep up with the Joneses, keep up with yourself, right? And the point is, do things you love to do with passion. Obviously, there is a point you could monetize, and of course, there's a medium, but and with that, again, to your point of like being about the work, remembering the why behind it, why you got into, and that could be said for anyone. I'm sure entrepreneurs are starting a company because they're really passionate about something, and then you want to make money off of it and all of these things. But yeah, I think remembering just the why behind it and the love of it is super, super important. Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, what I like to do is ask guests to look into the camera and give a kind of closing message to anyone listening that might be somewhat going through what you have. Maybe they're out there and they're a survivor, or, they're pursuing the art.
Here's what I would say. I think what we talked about is, again, there's no hierarchy to suffering, and I think that there's no right way to heal. And I think that there can be pressure, especially when you're the person going through something, to not only get yourself through it, but to get the people, your loved ones through it, to get your friends through it, to get everyone else through it as well. And it's really important to show up for yourself first and foremost in whatever way that looks like, to be kind to yourself. And like I said, I think my biggest lesson was not only granting grace for the people around me, but granting grace for myself. And that's how I like to think I show up for myself. And so again, to what we're talking about, if you're on a journey or struggling or like not quite where you want to be, to take a deep breath and grant yourself grace and show up for yourself in that way of remembering where you've been and where you are now. And you can still be striving toward that, but all we have is this present moment, right? This moment with you right now that we're here, and whoever is listening right now, and I'm talking to you and we're sharing this experience, that's what matters, and to trust that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. No, that was very good improv. Well, let me close us out. That was fantastic. So everybody, I hope you got something good. I know what I got, but I hope you got something you could take away. Couple things. Grace, live in grace, live in the moment. I thought that right now is what hit me the most. If you're out there anxiety, struggling with anything going on in your life, remember, take a breath. Think of that moment I had in the theater. A cool, calm space. That's what did it for me. It was, I blocked out the world. All that matters is right now. That's why they call it the present. Right now is a gift. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. It's the present. It's a gift. You're here. You're watching this, and I'm grateful that you're even watching this. Take that. You're alive. That sunset, it's going to come up tomorrow, no matter what. We might as well be here for it. So I got a lot from Chelsea today, and not everything is a pivotal moment that happens. Sometimes you're going through something. Just remember that sunset's going to come and stay with us. We want you here. You're valid. Your experience is valid, and keep showing up, man. Till the next episode, I'm Paul Tully. This is the FY Podcast, Finding Your Inspiration. See you next time.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.